Namaskaram, everybody. This is Yogacharini Sangita Laura Biaggi, and I would like to share with you some reflections on the ego. So, the ego is a necessary step in our evolutionary journey. When we are born, we learn to decipher the reality around us. We make sense, in a way, of the world around us. This is the function of a healthy ego. We are a pure form of energy. We are pure energy incarnate. When we incarnate, we take on the qualities and certain genetic information and also the qualities of the environment we are born in and grow in, the qualities of the food we eat, the genetics, epigenetics of our family culture of origin. And from the pure energetic source that we are, we start to develop a personality. Personality or ego or the ahamkara is, personality comes from the Latin persona, which means a mask. And so as soon as we say that we develop a personality or we have a mask, we immediately believe that that is wrong. It's not wrong. It's a step in evolution. The capacity to know oneself, know thyself. This knowing of the self begins with an understanding of our sense organs, smell, touch, sight, hearing, listening qualities. We develop this capacity to experience the world fully and to adapt and change and respond, to be responsible, to adapt and change and become responsible, make responsible choices depending on the culture of origin, the language we speak, the context. We also begin to develop the capacity to say, I am, I feel, I want, I see, I express, I emote, I. This I-centered reality is the reality of the ego. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, the ego needs to be fully developed. It needs to be fully explored before we can allow our prefrontal cortex to develop to a faculty of intellect, where we begin to focus our thinking and our mind and our capacity to concentrate from the animal nature. Do this, do that, don't do this, do that, this is right, this is wrong. The yamas and niyamas of Ashtanga Yoga. We slowly begin to uplift ourselves, and the buddhi develops where we are able to gently control the senses, gently control this primal impulse of the ego to say, I am the center of the world. And with the prefrontal cortex development, we begin to become self-aware. In the ego, in my experience at least of the ego, it's not necessarily possible to take other people into consideration. That's an egotistic, right, person or egoic, is that they're just self-absorbed. That's just what the ego does. But when from the ahamkara or the chitta of everyday life, I want this, I want that, I should do this, I should do that, what do you give me, what do I get in this, and all of that. When we begin to outgrow, because we have fully experienced that realm, then we can begin to outgrow, overflow, right? We begin to overflow. and uplift this capacity to detect reality. We uplift it and we start to inquire into the nature of being alive. That's the mind thinking about the mind is the realm of the buddhi, of intellect. When we're able to do that, we can slowly begin to withdraw from external reality. We do not, in a sense, need a validation or a sense of sensual desire. And slowly the buddhi can develop and start to elevate, and elevate in terms of vibration, refine, become more refined, and we can begin to contemplate higher concepts. But we can't do that unless we explore the ego first, unless we fully know ourselves. That's why on the temple of the oracle at Delphi, the message was know thyself. Know thyself, know your drives, know your animal nature, know your mammalian impulses, your reptilian impulses, without fear, without shame, without guilt. It's as if you wanted a very young child not to explore, and you would immediately judge them for wanting to touch everything or taste everything or put their little fingers everywhere. And you would be like, this is wrong. You should be thinking about philosophy to a 2-year-old. In the same way, our brain has phases of development, and so does our psyche, and our soul incarnate needs to explore. And ideally, we would be exploring forms of beauty and love and good food and good water and beautiful landscapes. But that depends. That depends on the person. It depends on their birth. It depends on so many elements. And there's no judgment in that. We all need to experience what we need to experience, but ultimately, a healthy development of the I, of the sense of I deserve this, I want this, I like that, I don't like this, I don't like that. And then the ego of the I center, the ahamkara, can be inquired into. And in Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, we have the yamas and niyamas, or the moral and ethical principles. And that's how we begin to refine the choices of the ego. That's how we begin to refine our animal nature. And that's the path, of yoga as a way of life, as Dr. Swamiji, Yoga Maharishi, Dr. Swami Gitananda Giri, and all of the gurus of the Gitananda tradition teach. Yoga is a way of life. Life is what we experience with our sense organs, with our motory organs. That's very much grounded in our animal nature. But the way of life, the way we experience life, is defined by the buddhi. And that's, a process. Eventually, when we are blessed to be able to feel fully satisfied and fulfilled with our earthly existence, we can slowly begin to let go of the desires of the ego. And from the chitta of the ego and the intellect of buddhi, we can really, really begin to contemplate the life at the subatomic level, at the pure energy form, at the Brahman form, and experience chit, sat chit anandam, the pure bliss of fully realizing that we are one with the forces and energies that move our galaxy, that are also inside our subatomic nature. But until we go step by step like that, it's going to be very difficult to be fully manifesting that realization, because our animal nature is not satisfied yet. And so we will always come back to cravings and wrongdoings and strange emotions, attachments. And so it's a process. And I just wanted to share with you. And as I grow in my own life and I grow in understanding the teachings of yoga as well as other esoteric teachings, I learn more and I let go more. So I don't hold the ultimate knowledge or wisdom. It's just a sharing of what I have been experiencing so far. So many blessings to everybody, and leave a comment and let's have a conversation. What is your experience of your ego? What is your experience of your spiritual path? Namaskaram and many blessings. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.